The Fake Baseball Podcast is brought to you by Salary Cap Sports. Enjoy fantasy baseball and want to give a new format a try? SalaryCapSports.com has got you covered. It's free and you can win cash prizes. Start with $50 million and build the best team you can before opening day. Score points and win free cash prizes. Everybody loves free cash. And after you built your squad, you get 4 trades a week to buy and sell players to adjust your lineup. The value for the players fluctuate up and down, depending kind of on how much they've been bought and sold previously. So guys can be worth different amounts of money, but everybody starts with that same $50 million to build their squad. Sign up now and play for free at SalaryCapSports.com. Don't miss out on your chance for those free cash prizes and see if you can beat me and Dylan. Building your squad is hard, but it is so fun to do. Sign up now at SalaryCapSports.com before opening day. And with that being said, what is up, beautiful people? This is our first episode of the week. Your boy's a Chiefs fan, and I kind of celebrated too much on Sunday and didn't have a voice to record on Tuesday. So here we are on Thursday when I have
it.
like
it's okay. That's a great excuse.
90% of my voice. Yeah, I was going to say it was for a good reason. I had a lot of fun. I behaved myself with the alcohol this year as well. So I actually remembered winning this Super Bowl, which is kind of rewarding. It was fun. I had a blast. Just small little get together at my best friend's house. Had a good time, a couple drinks, watched the game. Everybody talked shit because I'm the only Chiefs fan there. Nobody else is a 49ers fan, but they want to talk shit just because, I'm a Chiefs fan, so they got to say something.
49ers fans are only out and about when they're on top. They're a bunch of front runners. Anytime they can be brought down, and anytime, we all win when they lose. So just coming from a Seahawks fan to a Chiefs fan, we all appreciate what you have done the past 2 Super Bowls you've played them.
Hell yeah. Dude, it was funny because not to start our baseball podcast with a bunch of sports football stuff, but I don't really care. I'm enjoying this.
Football season's over. This is going to be the last time we talk about it for a while.
I've got my day job, and I tend to wear Chiefs stuff quite a bit during football season because there's not a whole lot of baseball happening. So wear my Chiefs stuff. Everybody's got something to say when I'm wearing my Chiefs stuff until the week of the Super Bowl when I was wearing my jersey to work, and everybody's like, man, I hate the Chiefs, but if I got to root for somebody, I'm not going to root for the 49ers. So it was like the first time in the last 5 years where everybody's finally like, I'm kind of on your side with this one. Speaking of the worst, though, that's a good segue. Speaking of the worst, injuries are the worst. And while pitchers and catchers have reported, which is such an amazing feeling when you are a seam head like we are, it also brings with this some injury news that you hate to see. We're essentially just covering Baltimore Orioles injuries right now because they're fresh from today, and it's like the only ones that matter. And we'll start with the worst one, Kyle Bradish, coming off of an amazing 2023 season. Apparently has a UCL strain, essentially a small tear in his UCL. And he's going to start the year on the IL. They say he's going to pitch through it and kind of assess it as they go. But, I mean, it's essentially the beginning of the end.
You got the shot with it, right?
Season this year. Yeah.
Yeah, see how it goes. But yeah, that small tear is not a good sign.
These never seem to go well. Like, you can't really have I mean, I guess you can, but typically when this sort of thing happens, a player doesn't play through it and then magically just get better and perform well. It's kind of one of those things where it's a ticking time bomb now before that UCL is just fully shot. And UCL going out is Tommy John surgery, which will make you miss the better part of 2 seasons. It's tough to see. I think last year he kind of broke out, had an ERA under 3, good amount of strikeouts, was eating a good amount of innings. It was really bolstering that rotation for that young core of hitters that they have in Baltimore. He was kind of leading the way on the pitching side of things.
Finished what, third or fourth in the Cy Young in his breakout year?
Yeah, which is impressive.
Something like that. Yeah,
top 5. Yeah, top 5. It was impressive, and I know for those of us that have drafted early, he was a popular target for your SP2, SP3 in that range, and wouldn't you know it, it's probably going to be a loss of a pick, which sucks. But yeah, Dylan, do you think he has any chance of getting to 100 innings this year? Even we'll just say 100.
No, I mean,
he can do that.
The fact that they're preparing to have him on the injured list when the season starts, saying that there's already a small tear. I did see that they're going to get him the shot, play catch, toss a little bit, see how he progresses through it all. But the fact that there's already a small tear, I just don't know. I think Tommy John's just inevitable for him. I don't know if he gets 100 innings in him this year. I think it's, I think it's just moving on to next year. See how we are then.
Which is unfortunate, and I mean, with that comes the trade rumblings that are already happening for Baltimore. Are they going to need to now go sign somebody else for that rotation? Because like Tyler Wells is probably taking over a rotation spot for sure now. He did okay last year. He wasn't terrible. He did okay last year. He won double-digit games. So he becomes like a late-round fantasy option if you're looking for a pitcher with like some wins upside, which you don't really want to chase wins in fantasy, but obviously you need them typically in a lot of formats. So he's somebody to keep an eye on, which won't cost you a ton right now in drafts. If you're drafting early, his ADP is likely going to go up as we get closer to the season. There's also rumblings of like a Jesus Luzardo becoming a trade target for Baltimore. I know they just brought in Corbin Burns, but Jesus Luzardo has been on the trade block for a bit, it seems like, in Miami, and now Baltimore seemingly has the pieces that a Miami would want to bring in Jesus Luzardo. Do you think that it's something that they may actually explore and try and make a move for?
You got to replace him, and Luzardo, I think, is actually a pretty good name to mention. I think it makes sense in a lot of ways because Miami's got a plethora of pitching. Baltimore's got a plethora of bats, offensive guys. And we're just talking about it before the show started. It's really good or really hard to find good left-handed pitchers. Like we're talking about, a little bit, I was a little bit, what's the right word? I don't know. I don't feel quite right about the Mariners having all right-handed starters, and that's where we got into that tangent. But if you can pick up a good left-handed pitcher like Luzardo, I always think that's a plus. Like I would prefer him over a Dylan Cease, somebody like that, just because of him being left-handed, and you might get similar numbers too. So yeah, I would probably vouch for Luzardo to Baltimore being a good replacement.
I like it as well. A ton of upside there. Luzardo's still young. Like you mentioned, Miami does have a deep core of young pitching as well. So they can not replace Luzardo because he's really good. It's really hard to just say replace somebody that's that good. But they have like a next man up available in Miami that if they are to move on from Luzardo, somebody like a Max Meyer can come up, somebody like that.
Yuri's going to get more innings.
Absolutely. I am so high on Yuri Perez this year. I think he is a dark horse Cy Young candidate this year. I think he's going to put up crazy numbers. In the fantasy world, he's going to pay off big. He's getting drafted as like an SP, like a low SP2, high SP3 in that range. I think he can return top 15 starter numbers by the end of the year, especially if he can kind of stay consistent. His pitches are disgusting. Miami seemingly, they built up his innings a bit last year. So this year, 150 plus in the innings department is going to be no problem for Yuri. As long as he stays healthy, obviously, we got to put that little caveat in there. But as long as he stays healthy, 150 innings is That's all you need for a Cy Young nowadays. 150 innings. Not a ton of guys go that high. I was listening to Ariel Cohen's Beat the Shift podcast, and he does the ATC projections, and he said he has 0 starters projected to hit 200 innings this year. I think Garrett Cole's the highest with like 195 innings or something like that. There's only 2 people in the 190s. So if you can get 150 innings out of somebody, that's a good number, especially somebody with the strikeout ability that like a Yuri Perez
That's crazy.
has. Yeah, it's a different world we live in from like the Felix Hernandez 250 inning days. That doesn't happen anymore. But then the next injury,
prime example right there as to why it doesn't happen.
Yeah, Mr. gonna miss on the Hall of Fame because his arm died on him at a younger age, which sucks, but it's the truth. Next injury, we're gonna say Gunnar just because that's the one on the top of my head. Gunnar Henderson strained his oblique. Terrible injury for a hitter. Apparently it happened 2 to 3 weeks ago, and they think he is 2 to 3 weeks away from really ramping things back up, which sucks. So he's going to have the thought process now is he's going to have a very delayed spring training, but his opening day shouldn't be in question. Does an oblique worry you a little bit for opening day, like to be fully healthy, or how are you feeling about that?
Those are different animals. They have a mind of their own. Like once you think you're good, you go out there, take one weird wrong step, and you're back at 0 again. And obliques commonly are linked to hernias and sports hernia injuries. That's also kind of what I worry about too, is if it gets aggravated enough and something bad does happen, then he's got to go, get surgery for that. And then you're talking about probably close to a couple months he'll be out. I would say that's worst case scenario. I don't know how bad it's looking over there, but in the back of my head, that's kind of what I have him, that's where my thoughts are. But if you're willing to stash him and really think that highly of him and know the risk, go for it. But yeah, I think that the oblique, it's a different injury. There's nothing you can really do about it besides resting to 110%.
Yeah, the thing that worries me with those oblique injuries is you are literally just one small, tiny, meaningless movement away from it becoming a very serious issue. Like getting up out of your chair wrong, and that slight oblique strain becomes a nightmare for you. And obliques zap a hitter's power. Kind of like, I mean, it's different, but like how the elbow injuries, Tommy John level elbow injuries, kind of like zap a hitter's power, like a Bryce Harper last year, beginning of the year, a Max Muncy, like that. Oblique's kind of the same. An oblique injury, power becomes a nightmare. Like you can still hit for some average, you can hit line drives, you can do that, you can become a line drive hitter. But I guarantee none of you are drafting Gunnar Henderson in your fantasy baseball draft because you think he's a cool line drive hitter. You're drafting him because you think he could hit 30 to 35 bombs while flirting with 300 and driving in and scoring 180 combined runs. That's what you're hoping for. That goes out the window if this oblique injury gets worse. So I'm skeptical. I'm probably still going to draft Gunnar, not Hunter. Still probably going to draft Gunnar because I think his ADP is around 50, which I don't hate still. Like 4th round pick. Third base is deep enough that you could draft Gunnar at his ADP and you could snag somebody a little later on, even like a Josh Young later on, another young guy. And if Gunnar gets hurt, Young can fill in perfectly fine for a Gunnar while Gunnar's healing up. So thankfully he's still in a good draftable spot that it's not too much of a hindrance for your fantasy lineup, but you do need to be mindful of it if you do want to take that leap. And then the last one, slightly less fantasy relevance. I know there's a few of us in the industry that really do like John Means. I am one of those people that really like John Means. I think people forget about just how good he was before he missed all that time. Pre-injury, he was incredible. I was hoping this was about to be the John Means resurgence tour, but it looks like he is about a month behind on his recovery currently. So his start to the year is going to be delayed until likely end of April. Sucks, but it's something you got to pay attention to. He's getting drafted way late. He's going undrafted in like your typical 12-team league. Means probably wasn't getting drafted. But if you got the 30 man rosters, or if you're in a 15-team league, some of those bigger ones, a draft and hold league, then he's getting drafted. So you just got to be mindful. You think Means can still find a way to be effective when he gets back from his injury?
I mean, I think it just adds ammunition to what we were talking about earlier, getting Luzardo, filling that lefty role for him too, even if he may not be ready. I don't know too much about what's going on with him. So I don't know what his outline looks like. But again, just you're down 2 starters already, it looks like, going into spring training. I don't know. Get Miami a ring and see what's happening.
Yeah, I think it's still the same. I think it was an elbow injury that he initially got hurt from. It's not a new injury. It's just kind of still like a slow process coming back from it. So not a new injury, which is good, but still an injury nonetheless. And it sounds like they might just want to take it slow with him. Like they're a little nervous. He did start 4 games last year. Coming off injury, pitched 23.2 innings, had an ERA at 2.6 with a 0.71 whip. So great when he came back in those 4 starts. So some upside there. If he's on waivers in your league, like if you've already drafted, he's a guy to watch. Or if you want, he's probably going to start in the IL. So if you want to just pick him up to stash him on the IL, I think it's a great move because you're going to get some good value there come play time. But for now, just keep in mind that Means is not going to be ready for opening day like a lot of us had hoped. He will play in 2024, but he's not going to be ready for opening day. So just keep that in mind. And I think that's done with the injuries. And after the injuries, I wanted to kind of cover. I want to kind of cover my. I was in the WERF draft. So how it works is there's a giant thing called the Earth League, and inside of the giant Earth League, there is smaller 15-team leagues made up of industry experts and analysts. Yeah, it's like small 15-team leagues, and each league is comprised of people from that particular area. So, like WERF is the Western Expanse Rotisserie Fantasy League. It is people in the Pacific Northwest. So it's like me, Ryan Bloomfield from Bubba and the Bloom. Fucking I'm drawing a fucking blank right now, and I should not be drawing a blank. Shout out to the guys in the WERF League. It's been a long day. But we have Corbin Young. Shout out Corbin. I did not forget you. Corbin has become somebody that I talk to quite a bit about fantasy stuff. He is also another one of the guys that is up for 2023 Fantasy Baseball Writer of the Year with me. So that is awesome.
Shout out.
We got Matt Smata, Andy Patton, Dan Kugler, just a whole bunch of people from out here. They have them from all different parts of the country. There's a Canadian league. And it is essentially a 15-team rotisserie league where, I mean, it wasn't even a slow draft. It was just a fast-paced 1-minute pit clock, 30-man roster, 15-team league. So 450 people out here getting drafted. Ours started late. It was an 8 p.m. draft. I was fucking drafting until it was like 11:20, I think, when the draft got over. It was a long draft. But made myself a few tequila and Sprites, enjoyed the draft process and broke it down. So I figured why not just talk about my draft, talk about the team I came up with, because to be honest, this is not the team that I was expecting to draft. I did write an article called "Should You Draft a Pitcher Round 1?" It was kind of a yes and no scenario. I'm a big proponent of not necessarily taking pitching early because I think kind of the Nick Pollock method, you can find good pitchers later on, so you can wait a little bit. So I drafted from the 11th spot. Very first pick, Aaron Judge. Not a lot to go on there. He's just a fucking man. I know. I got him at pick 11. Last year, people were talking about should he be number 1 over Acuna. I got him at pick 11. I absolutely love
every
that.
Single
he excels
time.
in every category. But then my next pick was a slight panic on my part. Because for me, the big 3 of pitchers are Spencer Strider, Garrett Cole, and Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns has been my number 3 pitcher since I did my rankings a month and a half ago, and it's never changed. So just with him getting traded to Baltimore, I love it even more. My plan was I was going to draft Aaron Judge and just go full Yankee and take Garrett Cole. What I didn't expect to happen was Garrett Cole to get taken with like the first pick of the second round. And Spencer Strider went at the end of the first round. And so I had a slight little I don't want to say
that was one of the last few guys that was left.
Man, Corbin Burns is the only last elite one left.
And you weren't going to have that chance the next time around. Well, yeah, I don't know who else.
Instead of taking somebody like
who else was in mind, I guess.
I think Matt Olson was still available. He was somebody that I was really, really considering going like an Aaron Judge, Matt Olson stack in round 1 and 2.
That would have been a lot of bombs.
That's a lot of power. That would have been a great one. I think Jose Ramirez might have still been available, which would have been cool. Give me some like a little bit of all around potential there. Francisco Lindor was still available and on my mind. I'm really loving Francisco Lindor in 2024. Only one of like 3 guys that went 30-30 last year, 4 guys that went 30-30 last year. And it just came out that he played last year with elbow discomfort and he feels 100% better this year. So if he can go 30-30 with elbow discomfort, how good can Francisco Lindor be in 2024? He 35-35, put up like a Julio-esque type season. That'd be pretty.
How old is?
That'd be pretty cool out of a Francisco Lindor. I'm gonna take a guess. Tell me if I'm right. 31.
Okay, he's 30. He's actually a little bit younger than I thought. Actually, I thought he was getting up into like 32, 33, maybe for some reason.
Yeah,
he's fine.
So yeah, shit, he could easily go 35-35 this coming season if his elbow was really bugging him like that last year.
Agree.
So first 2 picks out of the way. This is when I did something. Where I told myself when I did it that I have to fully commit.
Okay, so I was just about to say, was this a tequila and Sprite decision, these next couple? But it sounds like this was maybe thought out after.
This was the tequila and Sprite hadn't quite hit me yet on these ones. So for me, last year I was in TGFBI. It was my first year in TGFBI. And I think I mentioned it on a different episode. I screwed myself with saves. I didn't punt on saves. I just waited a little extra to try and start taking closers to get some saves. And it absolutely screwed me. So my theory this year has been I want to get at least one good closer. Like that's my plan. Like I want just a really good closer and then just kind of go from there. And so when it was my pick in the 3rd round, Hader and Class A were both available. And I was like, I love them both. I lean a little more towards Hader just because Hader is on a better team, obviously, in Houston now. Yeah. And for Hader to be the man on a Houston team, he could save 50 games this year. And so I took him. And then when it did the turn of the 3rd round, Class A was still there. And it was like you know what? I had to just fully commit to this saves thing. Like if I'm going to take a closer in the 3rd round, I might as well just go all out and make sure that I win saves for this year. So I took Class A in the 4th.
And how did that make you feel?
Honestly, at the time, uneasy, still kind of uneasy about it. I don't hate the strategy because I essentially, I did take another closer later on. I took Mason Miller a little later on in the draft, who, granted, it's Oakland, so he's not going to win save a ton of games, but I think he could save 20, maybe. So I don't hate the strategy because I'm winning myself a category that a lot of people overlook sometimes.
Yeah. You got it locked down now.
But man, just looking at your roster when you get through 4 rounds and you've got Aaron Judge, a pitcher, and 2 closers, I was in a little bit of panic mode because I was like, I missed on so many good hitters.
Well, I mean, and then it only takes an injury from one of those 2 guys to really,
and derail my freaking strategy right out of the gate. So that was tough. Thankfully, the next couple rounds, I got a couple good outfielders. My goal for a lot of my team this year was I wanted guys with 2020 potential whenever I could get them. 2020 plus potential whenever I could get them. So I got Nolan Jones, who did it in 100 games last year. Nolan Jones, we did talk about Nolan Jones a couple of episodes ago about how he is a regression candidate, but I mean, he went 2020 in 100 games. That's not a fluke.
That's your guy.
And then Josh Lowe, that is my guy. I've been trying to take Nolan Jones everywhere I can. I'm going to get him in TGFBI too. I take Josh Lowe next. I think another solid pick. Dude did almost 300 last year, 2030. Absolutely love it. I'm not going to go through every single pick of the draft, but a few of my favorite picks that I did end up getting in this one. I got Nolan Arenado in the 8th round. I like him in the 8th.
So you're that Encarnacion Strand, you're big on him as your starting first baseman here, or is it just more of like he was what's there?
It's kind of he was what's there, but I am pretty big on him this year because big power guy that can also hit for average. Not the fastest dude in the world, but I like a power guy that can hit for average that plays his home games at Great American Ballpark. They're going to have to shuffle guys around that Reds infield quite a bit to kind of find some playing time for all of them, which I have something else to mention after this about that. But I don't think Encarnacion Strand is going to get any of his plate appearances diminished because of that. Yeah, I think he's one of him and Candelario probably the 2 guys that are going to consistently have plate appearances in that infield. I also would like to throw. I did hear a rumor that Noelvi Marte is not a lock to start opening day for the Cincinnati Reds. There is a chance Noelvi Marte starts the season in AAA. So
isn't that kind of what the narrative on Ellie was this whole time?
Yeah. Now it seems like it may have shifted over to Marte at this point because Ellie can play shortstop pretty well. Noelvi's not a great defender. He only played, I think it was like 40-ish games, just a rough. He played like 40 games last year at third base and had a -2 outs above average in just 40 games. That's terrible. You put that over a full season, that's like almost that's -8 outs above average at third base, which you got to have somebody at the hot corner that can play at least average defense. And -8 outs above average at third base is not average defense. That's terrible defense. So that wouldn't surprise me. Michael King fell to me in the 13th round.
Got some good stuff.
I remember that pick specifically because we had like a little chat going during the draft so we could all talk to each other. And I specifically, before I made the pick, messaged and said, is there something that I missed, like injury-wise, about Michael King? Or you guys just really stuff on him? And everybody's like, no, we just don't need pitching right now. So yeah, Michael King excelled after the Yankees brought him up to a starter role last year. And now he plays in fucking Petco Park, where everybody can't hit in Petco Park. Second worst stadium for hitters next to T-Mobile Park.
Yeah, it's right above it.
pitcher's paradise out there. So I think his stuff can play really well there. And to get him in like the 13th round or whatever I said, fucking love it.
Posted 2.29 ERA in 22 and a 2.75 in 23. That 2.75 is going to settle around what? 2.5, 2.6?
Yeah, and if he could do that over the course of a year, his K rate was right around 30% after becoming a starter too. So a 2.5, 2.6 ERA with a 30% strikeout rate is crazy. Sign me up for that in the 13th round all day long. The first catcher I took was Francisco Alvarez. It's also a 2-catcher league, so I needed to make sure I locked those down. I got Francisco Alvarez and Danny Jansen. I don't hate it. Danny Jansen's going to play like 90 games. So I hedged that by taking Gary Sanchez towards the end of the draft. It was like 3 rounds left. But come to find out today, I need to keep reading up on it so I can keep following the story. So they announced on it was like February 5th, Milwaukee did, that they had an agreement with Gary Sanchez. He never showed up to sign the contract. He is not at spring training, and nobody with the team can get a hold of him. Yeah, so nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows where Gary Sanchez is, if he's actually going to be a Brewer or not. I thought it was a great pick, getting him that late, and now it feels like I might have just drafted a dude that's still a fucking free agent. So we'll see how that plays out.
Wow, just vanished.
Which is weird, man. Like I don't understand how players can agree to something and then you just don't show up.
See you.
Like that's odd.
Yeah. See that you also got the boys in the middle too. I like that.
JP and Mr. Jorge Polanco, absolutely. That. Dude, I've taken Jorge Polanco in every, I'm not even going into these drafts or these mock drafts intentionally thinking I need Jorge Polanco. It's just in every mock and draft that I've done, I've taken Jorge Polanco because he's going, I think I got him in like the 18th round.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 18th round. A second baseman, which is a very thin position in terms of fantasy baseball output, to get a second baseman that is potentially going to hit 22 home runs, score 80 runs, and drive in 80, I'll take that all day long. Like, yeah, the steals aren't going to be there, but I bet he steals 10 bags this year. So, yeah. And plus, I got to root for somebody from the Mariners. I'm going to be watching every game. I might as well have a little extra incentive to cheer somebody on when they're up to bat. I've also found myself taking former Mariner Jake Fraley in as many drafts as possible. It's not another red. That's the main reason. He went like 15-15 last year, which is great. Yeah, and I think he hit 270.
Never would have done that here,
dude. Never. Although, you know what I miss? Him and Taylor
Motter Pop
in the outfield with the sweetest fucking hair combo in baseball. I miss those days of bad baseball. Like, if we're gonna play bad baseball, we needed like that to be able to cheer on. But yeah, so I've been taking Jake Fraley because he's going like the 20th or 21st round in a lot of drafts. I think if he finds his way into 400 plate appearances this year, he can get you that same 15-15 output, which is good for that late in drafts. Yeah. Stanton, I got to pick later. I've never really been a big draft Giancarlo Stanton in fantasy drafts guy, but the more the years go by, yeah, like the farther he falls down drafts. Have you seen how he looks right now? Like,
I have not.
Dude, he's looking lean and mean right now. Like, he's not like a beefy pause. He's not a beefy dude like he was previously. He's looking lean and powerful. And I stand on that. And so if he can stay healthy with that, the new bod, I mean, he's easy 35 to 40 home runs if he stays healthy, because they're going to put him in the lineup. They have to pay him an absolute fortune, so they're not going to sit him.
Yeah.
And Jason Dominguez is still recovering from the elbow injury. So there is just automatic playing time there for somebody like Giancarlo.
Also,
very easy power that late.
Kyle Manzardo to the Coug. I love it. That's probably my favorite pick.
Got to get a WSU guy. Got to get a WSU
yeah.
guy. Took him towards the end of the draft. I think he has a legitimate chance to get a good amount of plate appearances for Cleveland this year. Good power. He's got a good hit tool.
Definitely. Yeah. This guy, he's one of the better players to come out of Wazoo in a minute. I've been watching him for a while now. He fucking rakes. He's going to be a good one.
And Cleveland does such a good job of kind of like Seattle, like with their control the zone mantra. Cleveland's kind of the same way. Cleveland, their hitters do an incredible job at making contact, not swinging at a lot of pitches. So if they can find a way to take a guy like Manzardo, not that he has like overly aggressive tendencies at the plate, but if they can take somebody like him and give him kind of that Jose Ramirez mindset at the plate, that Steven Kwan mindset at the plate, and mix in that power and hit tool that he has already, there's a ton of upside there. I went for that late in this draft. A lot of young upside. Don't clip that. A lot of young upside at the end of this draft. I had to take Hunter Goodman. I'm big on Hunter Goodman this year. Kind of the same scenario. If he gets the at-bats in Colorado.
The ballpark, yep.
Dude, he put up video game level numbers in the minors the last 2 years. Like, not even made up. Like, I wish I could put up the numbers that he put up in MLB The Show. I think like 70-something extra base hits each year for the last 2 years in the minors. Tons of RBIs. I think he had almost, I'm not even going to say the total base numbers because I don't remember off the top of my head. Just absurd numbers. And obviously that translates very well to Coors Field. He plays first base. He plays outfield. He also plays catcher. So in some formats, he'll have catcher eligibility, which I think is great. I think he would serve more as the Rockies' emergency catcher because they already have Elias Diaz, so they don't really need a catcher out there. And the only other thing that I did in the draft that initially wasn't intentional, but it had to be intentional at the end. So I realized after I drafted Nolan Gorman that I had drafted Nolan Jones, Nolan Arenado, and Nolan Gorman all to my team unintentionally, the three Nolans. So I had to take Nolan Shanuel at the end of the draft. Just got to close it out with the four Nolans, the quad Nolans. I do think he does have some upside there. Very light hitting, kind of OBP guy. Maybe like a Garrett Cooper-esque kind of player at first base. Some fantasy value, not a lot, especially Los Angeles isn't going to be like a run-scoring juggernaut, especially without Ohtani. So we'll have to see, but the playing time will be there for him, which surprises me because they rushed him through the minors last year after they drafted him and brought him up, and then all the dude did was get on base. So upside, I went a lot of upside in the draft, and I think I do okay this draft. I don't hate it. I think
you're rounded out all right. You just had to get through it.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you listen to this whole thing, I know I went closer in the third and fourth round. I cannot in good faith tell you that you should go closer in the third and fourth round, especially if you took a pitcher and a starter in the second round. Genuinely don't think it's a good strategy. So I will let it play out and see how it goes. But man, I'm just uneasy a little bit about it. Some of these guys, like Corbin, drafted such a good team, and he was a pick after me. So, for reference, I do work for Fantasy Pros, so I had I'm lucky enough to be able to use a lot of their draft tools and analytics and stuff after the draft. Corbin, who picked one pick after me, his draft was rated a 98 out of 100. My draft was rated an 82 out of 100. So just real quality.
That was a gut punch.
Yeah, just especially like it got to the end, and I was like, I think I turned it around. I think I did okay, and then I saw that and was like, oh god damn it. But I mean, I had like a 98 out of 100 in TGFBI last year, and I placed like 140th out of 400 people. So
Word.
It can go either way. Dylan, I got to ask. I'm going to throw you a curveball. Are there any players that you've thought about lately that are kind of growing on you a little bit for the upcoming fantasy season? Like, doesn't even like not even necessarily any like statistical backing behind it, just any guys that you just been thinking like, I think they're the type of guy that I'm going to roster a lot this year.
There hasn't been that consistent guy. I've honestly more so been stressing over the 4 that I'm keeping in our league. I've been stressing over that a little bit more.
Ooh,
but
let's talk that for a minute. Who
I
think who are you thinking?
Kirby, that's a lock.
Absolutely, gotta be.
Logan Webb,
gotta be.
Matt McLean,
of course. Ugh.
And then this is kind of where I am tossed up. I don't know. I might double up with the Reds and Encarnacio Strand. It's why I brought it up and asked about him a little bit, just to kind of get some insider info on that. And then I might keep 3 starters in Luzardo and then just go crazy and draft all offense. And then just lock up, have 3 good starters and just bat.
I don't hate that.
I'm torn.
I don't hate that at all.
So that would be Webb, Kirby, Luzardo, and McLean.
That's a really good group of keepers for this year. For reference, our keepers don't have any round. Like it's not like, oh, keep this 3rd round pick, you lose this 3rd round pick. We don't do that. We just for a little bit of fun. It is.
Royce Lewis was the other name too that I've been having a tough time with as well.
Ooh,
that's
your boy.
Yeah.
That's your boy too.
He has been. So yeah, that's probably the one that I'm looking to roster a lot is still Royce Lewis, just because for what he did for me last year. Just got a lot of good vibes with him. But that was the other name I was skipping right there.
Your team is going to start out maybe the best quad keepers this season. It's going to be like I'm looking at my team. I have to double check who's not keeper eligible. I think
I didn't make a whole lot of trades.
I'm keeping Yuri Perez. You didn't. I did. So like I think I have more than 3 guys that can't be kept. So I got to go back.
Yeah, I was playing the waivers last year a ton. People were trying to poach Tatis. That was the one I was just not letting go for anything.
I tried.
Last year was Tatis. Yeah, and you weren't the only one.
I tried a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep
try for Acuna,
Yuri Perez, and Tariq Skubal. Like for sure, guaranteed. I'm keeping those 2. And then I'll probably keep Ellie.
You going to do it?
Yeah, I think I'll probably keep him. And then I got to see where Michael Harris was drafted. Because I think he would probably be my other keeper. Him or maybe like
he just fell off planet Earth. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. But he was sought after. I remember going into last year.
Yeah, I'm torn because like I'd like to keep Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper might be keeper eligible.
Yeah, so you have the list. I'm not sure.
I'm gonna have to check. If Bryce Harper's keeper eligible, then we keep in Harper, we keep in Ellie, Tariq Skubal, and Yuri Perez, and that's gonna be a quad that y'all got to deal with because it's gonna be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
But you guys, make sure you go follow us on all of our socials. Follow us on Twitter at Fake Baseball. We are live right now. What up to everybody on Twitter? Follow us on YouTube at Fake Baseball Pod. We are also live on YouTube and we are live on Facebook. What up, everybody on Facebook? Go follow us there as well. Just search the Fake Baseball Podcast and you will see us pop up. Make sure you guys are leaving us 5-star ratings and reviews on Apple Music and Spotify and turning on those auto downloads. That goes so far to helping us continue to climb up these podcast charts. We're very close to a top 100 spot. on Apple Podcasts. I would love to get that before opening day gets here. But with that being said, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. Make sure you guys check out salarycapsports.com. And we'll catch you guys next time.